welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with...
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
If you've ever wanted woo
Woohoo!
to start a new project, but perfectionism and procrastination are standing in your way, then do we have the show for you. Today we'll talk about overcoming perfectionism, how to get started, and ways to jump past hurdles and find your way to success. That plus we'll talk about winter fun, triumphant returns, dressing like Barney, how to rebecome a squirrel on crack, and how to play on ice. So welcome to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine. Woo! Okay, absolutely love that shirt with the, first of all, I love that color on you. I don't know if this is the pink that you were talking about or Barney, but I think it's fabulous. It's a very flattering color.
I had a coaching client last night, or actually the husband of a coaching client, who said he could not pull it off, but maybe I could. Jessica bought this for me. It is quite Barney-esque.
No, I like it.
I'm letting it grow on me, though.
It looks really good. I like it. I really like it. I don't know if everyone could pull it off because you're coloring. When you have dark hair like the two of us have, it's easier to pull off jewel tone, vibrant colors. But if not, I don't really know if a lot of other people can pull them off. But I think it looks fabulous, particularly with the flowers in the back. I think it's great. It's not pink. It's purple. You told me last week it's pink.
No, this one's purple. I think she may also have a pink one. She's re-wardrobing me slowly but surely, and I'm enjoying the process. We typically have similar tastes, very similar tastes. In fact, I'm actually one of those guys who loves going shopping with my wife and seeing her try on stuff. And so that comes from, I guess, my fashion industry days. But she's gradually transforming me into upgrade. We could say upgrading me for the show. I'm enjoying it.
What's the vision for the upgrades?
I think she said something to me a few weeks ago, which is, I want to make sure that our house, how did she put this? She wants to have nice things in the house so that she feels good about herself. I appreciate this. And she goes, so you're one of the things in the house.
Okay, that's hilarious. That's super hilarious.
So the ratty sweatshirt is out. And,
Oh yeah, so like that's not okay. That's so funny. There's this woman that I interviewed a while back. It was Chinese face reading, and she focused a lot about surrounding yourself. She focused a lot on the elements, and so each element, fall, winter, spring, summer, it was earth, fire or water, wood, fire, metal. And then there's like two types of wood. And she said, depending on the kinds of things that you wanted to bring more into your life. So for example, if you wanted the element of wood in your life, you would wear green. And she said that there's like a subtle but psychological effect of having those colors around you. And so she was suggesting, like, to the point where, let's say that wood is about growth, right? So I'm actually thinking about the conversations that we've had. There's yin wood and yang wood, and wood is about like moving forward, pushing forward, growing rapidly. And so if that's the case, you would actually surround yourself with green. So for example, in your house, you may have like that bright green in back of you, a green accent pillow in your surroundings, or you would have, fresh flowers or a big wooden something or other, something with the elements of wood. So it's both the color, the element, and there's several colors during that green woody kind of period. Green is one of them, brown's another. So you'd actually surround yourself with that. So right now, based on your color, it would be, I think, probably fire.
Interesting. See, I would have thought, other than the spiritual side of things, I would have thought that this is just meant to attract, Barneys.
And that could be true. Barney got a fire. Well, Barney is about it's for little kids to get them excited, right?
Yeah,
Which is
that's
fire.
true.
So I can
Okay.
see. Yeah, okay. So there's some reasoning behind the Barney color, right?
And she said, you like purple and you like red. So here you go.
A purpley red.
It's a merging of the two.
It's cranberry. Cranberry or fuchsia. I think I would call it fuchsia.
Fuchsia. So
Yes,
we
it's
should look up the
fuchsia.
spiritual significance of fuchsia. It does feel a little bit like a spiritual color. It
It
also does
is.
look like I'd be good on the golf course right now.
You would be. Both. Both are good. Okay, so how are you feeling in that color?
Um, um,
Uncomfortable.
I laugh when I look at it, but I am both quick to change and slow to change. It's the weirdest thing. We
Okay.
get something new and something that I've wanted for a long time, and I'll look at it for a while before
I think
I
it's like
actually do
head,
something
shoulders,
with
knees
it.
and toes, knees and toes, head, shoulder, knees and toes, knees and toes. So that's just, do you know that that's a song that Barney sings?
Oh God, I think it predates Barney though, because I remember that in my like school camp days.
Well, Barney would,
So
this is one of his precursor songs that are like his song that people associate with Barney. I
now
know
I don't.
because we had a little, when I was at Microsoft, they made little stuffed animals that could talk to you. This is part of their exploratory phases
See,
to
I
figure out
love
stuff.
that.
And they had
I
a Barney.
love
They had a
that.
big purple Barney, and it would sing these songs, and it would go head. Its little arms would go like this: head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Like it would move around, and it would sing these songs. And so, my little kids, you'd press on its hand, and it would sing these songs. So, Barney was a good portion of my children's life. So, I like Barney.
Now Jessica was asking, is Barney still around, or is Barney now long since gone?
I don't know. I think people do things. It's just been mutated like every wonderful, sweet thing. Like people, I think, Mr. Rogers, which was really popular during our time,
Oh,
they used to have drinking games. If he would say certain words, people were like, drink. And so I think they had something similar, like, when Barney's around, people taking bong. So I don't know if he's
where
still
has this
around.
show gone?
I know, but that's what used to happen with Barney. So I've
Okay,
been
so
told.
so let's go from there. We're not even going there.
Okay.
And
Okay, so we're demonstrating the squirrel on crack.
yes.
What's
Well,
happening with
I'm
squirrel on crack?
I'm working to become more of a squirrel on crack. So last week was my quote busiest week of that I can recall since we started the show. And I don't view busyness as a badge. I view it as something to let's see what can be done to get away from that, so you can have more time to be rather than to do. But it's the way things worked out last week, and it's the way things are working out through today. That's why you saw me in my cycling gear right before we had our interview. I'm like, I've got a chance. I'm sprinting out the door. My God. I spent too much time in the chair last week
Mm,
and my back got really sore.
mm,
And I feel for people whose backs get sore because often what it means is you need more movement rather
mm,
than less.
mm-hmm,
And so the answer of rest, bad idea. You need to get things moving.
mm,
And so through today, since I've been stuck in the chair more or less, what I'm trying to do is if I've got 5 minutes up, if I've got 10 minutes up, I want to move like a squirrel on crack. I want to run up and down a flight or two of stairs. I want to do some push-ups right in the floor wherever I'm at. I want to do some sit-ups. I want to run outside and run around the house. I want to do something to get that blood flow going as much as I can so that the body feels better, so that I don't have stuck energy and I keep that blood moving through my system.
mm.
And so I have been training myself to get up and out of the chair and just go. And I think it's really good for me. I'm feeling a little bit looser. Yesterday, I think, was the hardest day on the back. Today is feeling a bit better.
Mm.
And I told Jessica, who just came back today, and that's a whole nother story. I said, I'm going to get in amazing shape just in my 5 or 10 minutes
I
between
love
coaching
that. That's a
sessions,
great
between
idea.
interviews.
It's funny because this morning I had the same idea because I woke up because I'm leaving for Hawaii tomorrow and I have like a long litany of things that I forgot were going to happen that they have scheduled the wrong time.
Yep.
Anyway, I have a long list of things that I need to do before tomorrow and I woke up I was like stressed. Like I woke up at 6:30. I'm like, I gotta get up early so I can get everything done. And my meditation was like, you know what? That kind of attitude is not going to be helpful for you. Just keep on saying, it will get done. I don't know how it will get done, but it will get done. And calmly proceed throughout your day because if you do that, you'll just get more done and you'll be at rest versus kind of like, it will get done. I have to get it done. Ah! So I've been just kind of slowly navigating around. So I have this. I actually had all day meetings yesterday, and I had to write up the notes so it doesn't drain out of my head when I'm on vacation. So I was starting to write up the notes, and I thought, well, I only have 5 minutes, so I would normally read email or do something like to, because like, what's 5 minutes? But I'm like, no, I'm just going to spend 5 minutes and type. If I have to write up the notes in 5 minute increments, that's just going to be how it will be. And so today I had like 15 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and I was just typing up these notes from the meeting. But all those things add up, right? So at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe it's actually better for you to do 10 5 minute workouts and one 50-minute workout. It's the same, right?
It's the same. And in fact, if you're using the HIT principle of high intensity, you can get a lot in a short period of time. And those pulses probably do you a lot of good. And we'll see what that does for me. What you mentioned a minute ago, though, is actually really cool with today's theme, which is perfectionism and procrastination. I'm going to wait to do it until I have the time.
Right.
And so you wait for this giant block of time that may never come. And we can talk about scheduling, but if you don't schedule it, you just wait for this amorphic blob to appear. Since it never appears, you never start.
Right.
But if we just chip away at it with tiny little pulses or tiny little bits and pieces, it's amazing how far you'll get. And like you said, it's whatever. I just start into it. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
Just start into this process and start checking through the list.
And sometimes it was funny because my husband and I were just talking about it. I said, I have not written since like the plane ride over to Texas, which is like December 12th. I have not written one solitary thing since December 12th. And I said, so what are the reasons why you're not writing? And, it was like, distractions, interruptions, research, family time. And the other was procrastination. And I think, and we were talking, and I was like, me too. And he said, yeah, because when I actually write, there's a whole process where I try to get into the right mindset. It's like there's kind of like mind foreplay is the best way I can say. Your mind has to get in the right spirit. And then he writes, and I'm like, me too. And he said, but really, it's just a process of starting. When I start, I'm fine, but I have all these reasons of why I can't do it. So if I think the thing that you're saying, if you just take the 1 minute, 5 minutes, whatever minutes you have and do something during that time versus not do something and not procrastinate, just the process of starting is all he needs. And I'm like, that's so true for me too. Just starting it versus thinking about it.
I'll challenge you because I've got to challenge me because we got a book back from the editor, or it's supposed to come back, but it's only half done. I got to figure out what's going on with that, Will. And then the second book, going back to my old editor from years ago, who intimidates the heck out of me, but does a great job. And she was saying she wanted to take the first chapter to a focus group, and it actually froze me. I got several chapters done, but I'm afraid to go back and finish one because if the small self in me says, well, if it's not good, then you're going to have to throw the whole book out, which isn't the case at all. I just need to move past that hurdle and get writing again. I've given myself time over the winter to get things set up with coaching, to get set up with the other side of things. But now I have to challenge myself to get back into the writing. And it's like you say, I tell people, if they want to write a book, you don't need to write it all in a weekend. You don't need to take a month straight to write a book. Write a page a day.
Right.
A page a day is a 365-page book. Okay, right. Edited, it's a 200-page book.
Right.
So like you're saying, I just will get, and so I caught that in myself today while talking with a coaching client. I was like, wait a second. If we're talking about, which I was talking about with her, perfectionism and procrastination, and I've frozen solid on my book, I just have to start chipping away at it again myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Isn't it funny? I mean, one of the wonderful things about coaching, one, you're helping another person, but oftentimes you'll say something. So you're coaching this client and talking about perfectionism. We're like, why don't I only listen to my own wisdom? But it's sometimes I think clients bring that out so that you can actually learn about yourself. It's like you're both learning. You coach because you want to learn about yourself just as much as you want to help the other person. But a friend of mine who's a big Byron Katie advocate says you really do it because you're helping yourself. You help others because this is, how you help yourself the greatest amount. So
somebody recently asked me, they said, with your growth, you're not going to need to be coaching in the future. So is this your last year coaching? And I said, no, because that's where I learn the most. What I bring to
Mm.
my writing, what I bring to my speaking, what I bring on air, all comes from that personal interaction. Because you're right, you're throwing, not only are you helping other person, but you're throwing the mirror back on yourself, and you're seeing your own stuff, your own junk is right there before you, and it's I couldn't help share wisdom with another person if I wasn't either A, doing it, or B, said, oh, wait, I get to do that too, and share that with the other person. Hey, this is a piece I get to work on alongside you. Just like I said, I'll challenge both of us on
Right.
the writing now.
Right. Yeah. My hope is to start writing on the plane. Like the minute I get on the plane, right, or right when I'm in Hawaii. Like that's my greatest hope. But it's just a matter of just starting. I know the minute I start, it will just free flow, but it's kind of like the intimidation of just starting. And the intimidation of, oh, you're gonna focus group this. Oh, now the pressure is on, right? There's like higher stakes, right? I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I can't just write because it's actually going to be judged, but it's a first draft.
Right.
And so I'm like, and this gets back to perfectionism, and something that I've been challenged with in the past, and I guess it's coming back up, is I used to need things perfect before I started, and which means that you never start. I will, once I get this done, once I get that done, once I get the other thing done, then I'll start. And because of that, it never takes place. Did I speak? I don't want to repeat this story. Did I speak last week about the $500,000 demo?
No, I don't think so. Tell me, and then I'll tell you.
Still with me?
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't remember.
So the half it looked like it
I
looked
was
like you
thinking.
froze. The
No,
half
I
a
was
million dollar
thinking.
demo is the future rock star, really talented musician who makes a demo tape and wants to take it to a producer at a record studio and a recording studio, and he goes to take it to the producer, and then he goes, I need to get some drums in this first. And so he goes back, he saves up the money, he finds a drummer, he gets the studio time, he gets it recorded, and then he goes to take it to the agent or whoever it is, and then he goes, I need a backup singer. What I really need is a backup singer. He works some more, he saves up some money, he hires a backup singer, he gets the studio time, he gets it recorded, and he goes to take it in, and then he goes, I can't believe this. I've got the most brilliant idea for these lyrics. It will blow him away. I need to take it back, and I need to re-record this thing. And away he goes, and on and on and on. And 20 years and $500,000 worth of time and money, literally later, he still hasn't turned it over to somebody to listen to because he thinks of one more thing and one more thing to get this thing perfect.
Mm,
I was so guilty of that. We made this amazing barefoot running how-to DVD. Basic, clean, worked. Threw it all out and said, no, it's got to be better. We've got to re-record this. We're going to go to Maui. We're going to hire a professional team. This thing is going to be drop dead gorgeous. Missed the whole barefoot running wave, making a
mm,
product after people were interested and knocking on our door for it.
mm.
Then we did it with a second project where instead of whipping something out fast, and last week I talked about recording quick and dirty, getting out a beautiful automatic writing program, which we'll have up soon. And that I recorded in just a weekend or less. We took a whole year to record over 100 videos for our mindful running program. Absolutely stunning, beautiful, hard work. It more than contributed to Jessica getting sick. It ran her absolutely into the ground. She
Mm,
was doing all the editing work, and it wasn't necessary. And it
mhm,
was completely overkill.
mhm.
And we achieved a level of perfectionism that tore ourselves apart. And on top of that, because we did the $500,000 demo and didn't want to release it until it was ready, we never got feedback from people.
Oh,
In today's digital age, you can release things early and tweak them. You could even put a book on Amazon and then pull out the draft and throw another one up there.
mm, mhm.
Nothing's permanent these days. Okay,
Right.
it can be buried in social media, but nobody will ever find it. So you can try things, you can experiment, you can
Mm,
get feedback with people. So it's so important not to go the $500,000 demo way and to said, and I think this time of year, right now, when we're surfing that wave of energy of new starts, of new beginnings, step forward. What have you got to lose? All it is feedback. There's no negative or positive. If you get criticism that you think is negative, you go, okay, I don't
mhm.
need to listen to it. But whatever you get can help steer you forward. We just need to step forward and get the demo made like yesterday.
Yeah, there's two pieces of work that are kind of interesting that were related to this. Remember that guy Bernie Roth from the
Oh yeah,
Stanford Business School or Stanford School of
the
Design,
D school, yes,
D
D
School?
school.
And so he has this great video online talking about design, and it's about putting together quick, fast prototypes and getting feedback and just constantly designing in a group and doing these quick turn feedback things as a way of design, which is very different than, and it's more so at Microsoft. We like if you look at Microsoft Excel, there's like tons and tons of features. So when you add a feature, it's like you're taking this like, bajillion by bajillion grid and like having to make sure that, the code that you put in doesn't like break something else. And so it's just super complicated, monolithic product. And so it would take, a year and a half to 2 years to actually create a product that is well tested, vetted, all this stuff. And meanwhile, there were places like Google that were just like throwing out stuff that wasn't actually maybe of high quality in the very beginning, but they just iterated over and over based on user feedback. And so I think that it's a form of design ideas that they're having right now. Because I think people used to have this it's kind of the industrial age, where you couldn't put out products rapidly, so you actually had to get it exactly right and, do focus group testing, all this kinds of stuff. It's kind of an old way of doing things, but the D School has this new way. And there's also, even at Microsoft, I'm sure they're doing, this is like really like 20 years ago what they used to do. I'm sure they're doing something different. And the thing that's all the rage in computer software is agile development.
Oh
Have
yeah,
you ever heard of that?
oh
But it's
yeah, absolutely.
this whole idea of like getting stuff out there quickly and getting feedback, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and constantly kind of like moving the dial versus like it used to be like 5 goals that we had that we would plot through the whole year versus like evolving 5 goals that kind of change throughout the whole year. It's just a different way of doing things that I think got started as a result of the internet because people would throw out products, get feedback. I mean, it's just way faster way of developing product. And I think this is now kind of the way that you move out of perfectionism but I think it's important to recognize the roots of it, right? It's because we had this kind of industrial age kind of way of manufacturing and then the risks were really high if you launched something that was bad. That's no longer the case.
I think it also comes back to our schooling. You
Mm-hmm.
have to turn something in that's perfect. You don't turn it in half done or close to perfect, get it back, and then fix it and turn it back into the teacher. So you're not rewarded for risk. You're only rewarded for perfection. And that makes it really hard to get started if it's your own self-imposed deadline.
Yep.
Because then you've been trained over 12 years of education or more. You've been trained. It has to be a certain way, or don't even think about turning it in.
Mm.
It's fortunate we moved past it for starting this show, and this show has helped put our perfectionism really in remission. Though I admit we're the book now, Open-Hearted Warrior. I'll get to work on that. But having a daily show has enforced letting go, because I have to air something today, period.
Right. Right.
And then tomorrow I have to air something today, period. So
Right.
I can be like, the show's not perfect. I need to do this, that, or the other. Sorry, you get to air it. The title, I can't come up with a perfect title. Sorry, you get to air it. I can't come up with the perfect description or the perfect outline. Sorry, you get to air it. And what happens is two things. First off, just like agile programming, you get better on the fly. You
Right.
develop systems that are more efficient and allow you to make quick changes. So that changes in you. And then at the same time, your ability to let go dramatically changes. Because in the beginning, I was working till 2 or 3 in the morning and crying myself to sleep, going,
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I
Mm-hmm.
did. And now I'm like, it is what it is. It's beautiful, it's perfect, it's energy, it's perfect, and it's imperfectness. I'm happy, let's go to bed. And if an interview doesn't go quite as expected, I'm like, that's great. You'll learn from it. Come on, Michael, let's go to bed.
Yeah,
And you
it's like
just let it
it's
go.
actually interesting because in some ways the accelerated time period of like having to produce something constantly is kind of allowing you to develop those muscles. Like it's like a hit it's like hit living. Do you know how hit like you for people who
High
are not
intensity living.
yeah, for people who are not familiar, the whole idea of high intensity training, and you can better speak to this, but it's the idea of like if you work out really really hard during that time, it's actually a better workout. You'll get better results than if you actually worked out kind of mediocrely for a long period of time. Is that right? It's like
I put it this way: if you're going to ride, ride. If you're going to run, run. If you're
right,
going to lift, lift. So get an intense workout. That doesn't mean there's a time and a place for the other things, but get an intense workout. Do the maximum work for the body in the shortest period of time. Call her good. Now, if you're
right,
training for an Ironman, we need some endurance and other things in there.
right,
But for a fitness point of view, it's brilliant. And the theme that come up when you mention that is no slow torture,
right.
which means if you want to get something out when it's perfect, you will take forever and torture yourself every day going, it's still not there, torture. It's still not there, torture. And you just keep torturing yourself versus, like for a daily show, whatever it is, good, done, go, done.
Right.
Let it out. So I'm not being continuously tortured about having to work on this thing. We operate on, not entropy, what's the term? Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law says that we will take as much time for an activity as we have. So if I have 2, 3, 4 hours a day, whatever it is, to get a show done, I will take 2, 3, 4 hours a day. If you give me a week and it's say 40, 50, 60 hours to get a show done, I will take 40, 50, 60 hours to get that show done. Will that 60-hour show, and you can speak to this because you've been working on this, will that 60-hour show be that much better than the 4-hour show? My guess is no. But I will have lost the rest of my life in the process, lost my wife in the process, not seen my kitty cats, not seen myself, my health, or my diet for marginal gains, and that would be slow torture.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think as you were talking about that, I realized that I experienced this just recently because my son, we have to actually write a parent survey for your junior and high school to kind of tell us about the strengths of your child, tell us some stories about your child, and tell us about their gifts and abilities and all these different things. Because what they're trying to do is and I didn't know at the time, like I wrote this last year 2 years ago for my eldest son, and now I'm writing it for my youngest son. And I'm trying to get this thing perfect, right? And I finally reached a point yesterday where I was like, this thing is taking forever and it's not going to be perfect. And I can't stop myself from doing it in this way. So I just handed it off to my husband. It's like 90% done. And the last 10%, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just finding I can't get this last 10% done, and this has to go out. So I just need you to, here's all the raw materials, because we're talking about his strengths, and I had my son take an arsenal of strengths assessments. And I said, here's the output of that strengths assessment, and you can probably just cut and paste some of this stuff. So it's like, it's almost done. Like even the 10% that wasn't done has 90% of the content. And I said, I just can't do it. I don't know why I can't do it, but I can't. And this is due, so I'm handing it off to you. And as I was thinking, like, why am I slowly torturing myself? And as you were talking and I was thinking about it, I think that sometimes there are emotional issues that relate to why you're not doing something. So the procrastination can be like, it's just hard to start. But for me, like the procrastination is, I realize that there's a part of me that thinks, oh, when I'm finishing this document, I'm doing the handoff for me to the college counselor, and now I have no viable role in the remaining year and a half that my son has. So that there's kind of like there's an emotional issue and sadness about releasing and letting go. And so I think I've done some work because I was like, wow, I just can't seem to get on top of Caden's stuff that I need to do. And it's mostly because it means that he's leaving, and I don't want to face the fact that he's leaving. And so I think that some of these things have an emotional component. And going back to perfectionism, I had a whole show about perfectionism. If folks want to go to Fire It Up with CJ and type in perfectionism, I have, I think, 2 shows on this because it's something that I greatly struggle with. And the person, and I used to struggle not as much as I did before. And she said two things that I can recall. One is that perfectionism is really about a fear of failure. The emotional piece, like, so why does everything have to be perfect? Because I'm afraid that I'm going to fail. If I fail, then what happens? Stories can be everything from, if I fail, then I'll be of no value, or I'm a failure, or whatever those things are, and
There's a
those things.
word
Yeah.
there's a word that comes to me when I think of fear of failure, at least for myself, as bizarre as it sounds, it's fear of annihilation.
Okay, so
I'll
you're
be
going to be gone.
destroyed.
Oh, you're going to be
Yeah, poof,
destroyed.
that's the end of everything if I
Right.
fail.
Yes.
That's
That's
a
scary, right?
bingo.
Right. You don't even exist. Like an nihilistic, you're gone, right? So I think that it's like, so fear of failure and kind of tracing that down that tree. So for me, it's a fear of failure because I'm not going to have it perfect. If it's not perfect, then I'm going to feel bad because I'm not putting my best foot forward, and it means that I don't take it seriously. Like, there's a whole set of stories behind that. So I think maybe even going, that'd be one thing to discover yourself, because then if you figure out, okay, fear of annihilation, then you can kind of have we have probably 100 different shows on our two websites, right? You could use the technique of the energy. What's the one? There's like
Well,
you can do
the one that
tapping.
you could do EFT tapping,
Yeah.
certainly. I've been doing that with a lot of coaching clients lately. What I've been doing for myself is doing emotion code each morning.
Emotion coding. That's it. Yeah.
And I'm doing it every single morning right now to get myself lighter for the new year. And I just keep going after it and keep going after it. And I challenge coaching clients when they hit roadblocks like this, not only to do these activities, but I tend to give them homework assignments, things like write a letter asking yourself, why am I not able to get this done?
Mm-hmm.
And see what comes up, and just write stream of consciousness. Obviously, I like teaching automatic writing as well, but just write stream of consciousness and ask yourself, self, I've wanted to write this book for a year. Why am I really not doing it? Without judgment, without attachment, but ask. And it could be you hear back something to the effect of, well, because you haven't set a time each day to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Or because you're afraid that when you get it out, your whole life changes and you're not ready for that.
Mm. Okay, I think we have some good things for you to work on, Michael. So when you actually get that, so let's say that we'll turn the table since I know it's uncomfortable. So let's say that for me, my fear of, okay, so for me, why I'm not writing is because I got some psychic who said what you write is not going to turn into a book. So then I was like, well, what the hell am I doing if there's actually not going to be tangible achievement that I can point to, then why am I doing it? If I'm not helping people, I'm not. So it's really just helping myself, which I actually, and in that, the question is, should that be enough? Right? So really what it is writing. So here's the equation. Writing is not for others. That makes me sad. Okay. So that's one emotional code thing that I could do. Writing is just for me. I'm not enough. Doing this for just me is not enough. And that's kind of like, that's interesting. And then I could do a whole emotional coding thing on that. But really, it's like, if I write, then it's not a fear of failure. Well, it is sort of a fear of like, there's other things that I'm not going to be doing as a result of writing. And that's not going to, all this stuff is not going to be pointing to a tangible accomplishment. Therefore, I'm not going to do it because loving myself is not enough of a reason to do it. Like, that's kind of broken, right? But if you didn't go through the emotional piece of it, you're kind of missing an opportunity. So I guess, like, even if you can look at the procrastination as a way to grow and learn and a divine thing that's happening to you, it's just a different way of looking at it, I think.
Well, it's certainly a learning. I tell people when I start coaching with them, I said, I'm going to give you 3 types of homework. Homework that's really easy, you're going to get done without a problem. Homework that's a challenge you get through. Another homework that you're completely stuck on and either don't want to start or have complete roadblocks on. I said, that's where the real learning is, because we learn from the roadblocks and we learn what's really going on behind the scenes. So that's what you're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. Can I share with you something that is slightly off
Please.
topic, but I'll try to make it back on topic. So this this weekend, we have been trying to come up with stress tech ways for my son who does martial arts to reduce his stress levels, both physical and mental stress. And his teacher, who teaches kung fu, came in and taught us Wim Hof, which you've told me about,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Are you
Iceman.
still doing it?
Well, I do all sorts of different things. I was out barefoot on the ice a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So I still like to play in the cold and do all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, so the whole idea is there's a special type of breathing that you do that completely oxygenates your body, and then and then you focus that with your mind. So you're actually adding lots of oxygen and physically pumping yourself up, mentally focusing your energy, and then literally putting yourself in a cold shower for 15 seconds. So I have a hot shower. I could turn it on for like ice cold for 15 seconds, turn it back on, and then you work from 15 seconds to 30 seconds up to a minute. And because they found that when you're in cold weather, what happens is you become more adaptable. Right. Basically, you're able to moderate your temperature because when you're sitting, so I'm sitting in ice cold water for 15 seconds, breathing in and out slowly and trying not to panic because when you're in this panic mode, your body is probably diverting its energy in lots of different ways. So basically, the cold part is really just for, I guess, boosting your immunity system, but then also more emotionally being like, I'm calm and present. Even though every part of me wants to run and fight or flight, I'm going to sit here calmly in this ice cold shower. But I think that it's helped me because part of the reason that I sometimes procrastinate is an energetic thing. I don't have enough energy to do it. But what I found is when I'm doing this Wim Hof stuff, I feel more energized so I can like
Oh,
dive in
it's
and do
electrifying.
something. Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, that's
As
another
a
technique.
as a complete aside, I'm guessing I've mentioned it to you before. Have you Googled barefoot running in the snow
You've
and seen
told me
what's
about
come
those
up?
monks, right? That they literally take sheets. They're monks sitting out in the snow, and they have so much tuma or whatever it's called that they have so much heat that comes out of them that you can put a sheet on them in the snow and they dry a sheet.
So I used to do that kind of stuff, maybe not to that extreme,
Yeah.
but if you look up barefoot running in the snow, you'll find Jessica and I running in a foot or two of snow, barefoot, me in shorts, and then running right into a pond before it's frozen, and running through the 32-degree water and back out.
Oh my
And
God.
and our editor put it to the music. Well, we had a twisted say in it too. Everybody going surfing, let's go surfing now. I love doing that stuff
Yeah.
of building up this fire engine of heat
Yeah.
inside of me. When Jessica, one of our first dates, I think our first time out into nature, it was late winter, early spring in Colorado. I guess early spring in Colorado. We were up almost at tree line, and there was this pond. The pond had just melted. There's snow and part of like this glacier that comes right to the edge of the pond. And I stripped down to my shorts and went and stood in the water for half an hour, taking photographs of still pond water that meets ice, that meets glacier, and
Wow.
just stood there without getting cold in like 32, 33-degree water for
Wow.
half an hour.
Wow.
Um, and it felt great.
Yeah,
It
it's
sounds
very
nuts, but it
invigorating.
feels great once you get that breathing system and once you realize that right now, the only reason that you're 98.6 degrees and your room is not 98.6 degrees is because your body can generate heat. Once you learn how to make that more of a conscious process, then you can go in cold water like you're doing. You can go into snow. You can go where I certainly haven't done what the monks have done, of gone up on a hillside and had the steam come off of them. But you can do that once you become mindfully present of how much you are in control of you. And that comes back to procrastination and comes back to perfectionism, is once you realize that you have, while control on some levels an illusion, the ability to start things and the ability to change things that you have control over, is much greater than you ever imagined.
Yeah, and I think it's actually related. And what I've been using for is really just about getting yourself energized and pumped up. Because if your energy is all, so it's like a quick way of getting like energy, like getting in your mind into like snap to whatever. Like, cause there's all this distraction and interruption. And so if you can get your mind focused, this seems to be one of those tools that you can do that. Just going back, one of the things that in this class that, my son's kung fu teacher was teaching us on Wim Hof. He said that is it Wim Hof?
Yeah, you got it
He
right.
said Wim Hof. They've been researching him because he was able to take a group of different people from different levels, like age levels, health levels, whatever, climbing up in the snow in Everest, and which is like people usually suffer from like altitude sickness, cold, like a litany of things why people don't make it. So he took these people who were, I think, somewhat well trained, but not like at mostly what people do to climb Everest is pretty heavy duty. So they're somewhat well trained, all different age, genders, whatever. And every single person on that trip made it because they did this Wim Hof thing, and people were they just couldn't believe, like, why did they make it? Why did this group? And the other thing, so they started studying this. So he's at some, I don't know where he was, Columbia University, someplace where they immersed him in a cold water tank, and they were keeping track of all his vitals, and they noticed that I think there was something going on in his liver. So they're like, we got to pull him out. We got to pull this guy out because he's going to flatline. Like, we don't want someone to die so we can get this research. He's like, no, 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 no. I got this. And he focuses on his energy on heating his liver, and the problem went away. So, like, imagine, like, being able to take your energy and, like, apply heat just to your liver area. I mean, just to further testify that yes, if you like, you can control, and we can have more control over things than we even understand.
And we did have one of the people who was in one of his groups that climbed a mountain with him. We
Yeah.
did
Oh, you
have him on the
did.
show last year, Scott Carney.
Oh, what did he say?
So well, he said it was fascinating, and he went there. He was a guru buster, and he went there to show how Wim Hof wasn't the real deal, and that didn't quite work out. In fact, he was able to do things with his body that he never thought that he could, and he still does. He lives back in Boulder, Colorado. He
Right.
still does the cold showers now. Still does the experiences outside with the cold, and it's really challenged his whole belief system on what's possible.
That's interesting. On the 21st,
Hmm.
I'm going to walk into a cold lake. So we'll see. That's like I've been
I've
doing
been looking at
the
this pond
showers.
out here.
The what?
You'll have to tell me how it goes. I've been looking at this pond out here that froze over for the first time, probably in recorded history of this place in North Carolina. And each day I've been putting my feet on the ice, my feet in the water beforehand. I crawled out on the ice. I took the kayak with me. So if the ice broke through, I got
Barefoot?
a
Like
kayak. Oh
barefoot?
yeah, barefoot on the ice, of course. Oh, I
Wow.
love the feeling. I have been on the ice barefoot so many times today. I cannot tell you. There's something so special about that connection and that feeling. And the ice, feeling it barefoot, it's so slippery and smooth. It's so cool. These are sensations that you don't get if you don't train yourself to be able to experience the cold as just another sensation.
Right.
Um,
That's
but
interesting.
you got to let me know how it goes, and that kind of thing excites me, and I don't know how this show came about, diving into cold waters, but it really changes your belief system on what's possible. And I think if you can change your belief system on what's possible in maybe one or two key areas where I guess maybe I was broken, so to speak, early in life. I had this big accident, 10 years of age, 6 surgeries, was
Wow.
told I wouldn't blah, 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 and wouldn't be able to blah, blah, blah. And all of that turned out to not be true. And
Wow.
that completely shattered my paradigm. They pointed out my arthritic joints, showed me on x-ray, and said how I'm going to be a mess for the rest of my life. I
Wow.
became a professional athlete. They
Right.
told me I wouldn't be able to run. I guarded myself for running through high school. Even when I did run a little cross country, I assumed if I'm not careful, my knee's going to blow apart. Then I became on the cover of running books.
Right.
So it it shattered my paradigm, or it shattered my belief that when somebody says something's not possible, they're right.
Yeah.
At best, if somebody says there's no way that's possible, I will go, maybe. Now,
Yeah.
will I proceed in that direction? Do I want to put my energies in that direction? Maybe, maybe not. But once you have one epiphany where somebody, an expert, has told you that is absolutely not possible, and then you figure out it is. Another example is all of the great retreats where people walk on fire, they walk on coal. Another example of what's supposedly not possible. Once you've done something like that, then the sky's the limit because you're on fire, no pun intended, because you realize that all of the limitations that you thought you had were just things that you wrote up in your mind.
Yeah, the one of the things that the teacher had us do is he had us do a set of push-ups, and so he like do push-ups until you've hit your max level. And I was like 21, and then on my knees, and then he basically had us do the breathing for you do 3 sets of 30 breaths, and then you hold in the exhale for a certain period of time, and then when you're holding in the exhale, he had us as we're holding in the exhale do push-ups. And these push-ups felt like nothing. I felt like I was going like this with my arm. Like I was just pushing up, and I could have gone into probably 40, but I hit 21. And the reason I couldn't go higher was not out of my physical limitation. It was because I couldn't breathe, because you're holding your breath while you're doing the push-ups. That was unbelievable to me, how little it hurt and how I was holding my breath the whole time. And so I think that our bodies, minds, and spirits can adapt in ways that we don't even know. I mean, that was just shocking to me.
Woohoo!
Woo!
So, any last words of wisdom on procrastination, perfectionism, anything of the sort, CJ?
No. Actually, one last thing. In the video that we did about perfectionism is hitting an unrealistically high expectation generally. And so when you're trying to get things perfect, you're trying to get it into a level that is already an unrealistic expectation. So just recognizing okay, and what perfect is today is going to be different than what perfect is tomorrow, which is that example that you gave of the studio person. So, what you can do, which is as good as you can do as of that day, is good enough. And just draw the line and see where you go from there. That's my
I
tip.
love it. And I'd say front load things, set a time, a designated time
It's a
every day
great
or every
idea.
week to get it done. So you front load things, chip away at it, and like you said, realizing what you do today. If I looked back at the show when we started, I don't think I'd be aghast. I'd be amazed at how far I came, but I also wouldn't want to air those original shows.
Right.
But that's okay. That's the starting point. Take your starting point. Go for it. Enjoy the journey. It's a process. Perfectionism truly is an illusion. No matter how good you get at something, you will be able to get better in the future. The most important thing is just to start. So I would surf the energy of this time of year. Take a chance. You have everything in the world to gain for it, least of all your confidence, because once you step forward into what you're capable of doing, nothing will ever be the same again.
Woohoo!
Woo! On that note, it's bike ride time, CJ.
Yay!
So for everyone out there, it's Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
saying, be well, have fun, get started on whatever is your great adventure for 2018. Baby steps, but start it today and shine bright.
Woohoo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.